All right, so today, guys, we're going to be looking at Excel. We're going to be looking at Introduction to Formulas. This is part 2 in the series. We're going to jump into it and start digging into formulas. Okay, welcome guys. So this is really going to be an introduction to formulas. So the examples that we're going to do are going to be very simple. My goal here is to just introduce you to the different types of formulas that we have and make sure that you know how to enter them in and what the correct syntax to use is. Now, if you look at the tabs at the bottom of the page here, the worksheet tabs, you'll see I've added in the formulas that we're going to go through in this video, which will be add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We're then going to look at sum, count, minimum and maximum, average, and concatenate. So let's get into it. In addition, or to do addition in Excel, if you want to add two numbers together, you can literally say equals 5 plus 10, enter, and it will add those two numbers. Now, it's not always practical to actually be typing the actual numbers in because you could obviously make a mistake. If you're working with financial amounts with decimals, it can get a little bit time consuming and tedious typing them in, and accuracy will always be brought into question. So best practice or best way to approach it is to say equals, select the cell that has the number you want to use, plus, and select the other cell, and then hit enter, and you will have your answer. Also to note, if you then, after applying the formula, click on the cell that you put the formula into, you will see the formula displayed at the top here. So you'll see the value in the cell on the worksheet, but if you click on it, you will see the formula at the top there. All right, let's move on to subtraction. So again, with subtraction, it's much the same. You can say equals 12 subtract 9, and it will give you the value. But again, best practice would be to say equals, select the cell, subtract, and select the other cell. Okay, no different from addition. So addition and subtraction, pretty straightforward. Let's look at multiplication. Now, important to note with multiplication is that we're not using an X for multiplication. We use an asterisk. Okay, let's have a look at what that looks like. So if we want to say 10 times 10, we can say equals 10 asterisk 10, and we get the answer of 100. But again, following best practice, we will go equals, select the first cell, asterisk, select the second cell, and hit enter. Okay, pretty straightforward again. Let's look at division. Now with division, instead of using the divide sign, we use a forward slash. Let's have a look at this top example here. Equals 144 divided by 12. Any boffins know what that is off the top of their head? You got it. It is 12, the square root of 144. And then let's do this next example following best practice will be equals, select the cell, forward slash, select the next cell. Okay, something else we can add in here quickly. If you get an answer like this 20.8571 and you only want the number to have 2 decimal places, what you can do is if you right click on this and go to format cells, this will then give you quite a number of options relating to how you want to format the data within this specific cell. We can click on number, and this will allow you here to specify how many decimal places you would like in the cell. So we will leave it on 2, and we can say OK. All right, then it will round it off and give you 2 decimal places. Okay, moving along, let's look at sum. Now sum is very much like addition, but sum becomes useful when you need to add quite a few numbers together, like if you have an invoice or if you have a table with 20, 30 items in and you want to add the contents of that. So here's an example here. We have a number of peaches, a number of apples, a number of pears, a number of bananas. If we want to know the total number of fruit we have, we can say always start with the equals and then enter the function name, which is sum, and then we're going to open brackets or open parentheses, and then there's two ways to approach this as well. So let's look at that. We can select the first cell we want to add and then use a semicolon to move along to the next option, and select the second cell, semicolon, select the next cell, semicolon, select the next cell. That's what we want to add. Close parentheses and hit enter. That will give us the total number of fruit in our table. But an easier way to do it is to use what we call the range feature. So let's start again here. We'll say equals sum, open parentheses. What is the first cell in the range? It's D2. And then we can use a colon, not a semicolon, and select the last cell in the range, which is D5, and close parentheses. So now instead of having to click on every single one of the cells, we click on the first cell in the range, we click on the last cell in the range, separated by a colon. Another way we can do it is to say equals sum, open brackets, and just click on the first number and drag down to the last number and close the brackets. That's probably the quickest and easiest way to do it. All right. And again, if you click on the value there, you can see the formula up in the top here. And when you highlight the formula here, it will actually show you the selection of the numbers that it's adding. Happy with that? Awesome. Okay, let's move along to the count function. Now, the count function, there's different variations or iterations of the count function. So what we can look at first is just equals count. So at the top here, you'll see I've created this block with 12 cells in it, right? It's 3 columns by 4 rows. So we have 12 cells. But if I want to know how many numbers have I got in my block of 12 cells, how many of those cells have numbers in, we can use the count function. So let's have a look. We'll say equals count, open parentheses or brackets, and then like in the previous example, you can just click and drag to select the range. So we're going to select the range of 12 cells and close the brackets. And now it tells us we've got 6 numbers, which is correct. And if you have a look at that 6, let me enter another number here, and you'll see it changes to a 7. And if I enter another number, it changes to an 8. What happens if I enter a letter in here, or a name, let's say? Let's enter my name. You'll see it doesn't count. So this count function will count how many of the cells in a specific range have a numerical value assigned to it or in it. If you want to know, hang on, I just want to know how many of the cells have any data in it whatsoever, whether it's text or numbers, then we can use the count A function. So let's have a look. Equals count A, open parentheses. We're going to select our range again and hit enter. Now you'll see when we use the count A function, we've got 9. Now we can see here there's only 3 cells open, and we know we've got 12 cells. So 9 of the cells have something in it, and 8 of those cells have numbers in. So if I do enter another text field there, you'll see it gets counted on the count A, but it doesn't get counted on the count function. And if I pop a number in there, you'll see it gets counted on both. Does that make sense? I hope so. Pretty straightforward, and I think in practical real examples these two functions can be quite useful. Moving along to minimum and maximum. So again, I've got a set of numbers here. This time I've chosen to use 15 cells. Okay, Now, we've got a whole lot of random numbers in here. So if I want to know what is the maximum number and what is the minimum number out of that group of numbers, we can say equals minimum. We want to know what the smallest number is first. And again, we'll just select and drag to cover our range, close parentheses, and straight away it tells us what the minimum number is in that set of numbers. And the same applies for maximum. This is really, really simple, guys. We'll click and select our range after opening parentheses, close parentheses, enter. So straight away here we can see our smallest number is 3 and our biggest number is 47. And again, if I go and type 88 in here, our biggest number is now 88. And if I type a 0 in here, or anywhere in this table, our smallest number is 0. If I do type a negative 10, our smallest number is then negative 10. Happy with that, guys? All right. Then moving along, let's have a look at working out averages. So something everybody likes to talk about, money. So let's use salaries as an example here. I've listed 5 employees and I've listed their annual salaries. So if I wanted to calculate out of these 5 employees, what is the average annual salary? That is quite simple to do. We'll say equals average, open parentheses, and again we're going to select the range and close parentheses. And there it is. The average salary out of those 5 employees is $39,400. Really straightforward and very useful. And obviously it doesn't have to be dollar amounts, it can be number amounts, it can be percentages. You will just obviously, like I showed you in the previous example, right click on the cell, go to format cells, and you'll see in here you get quite a few options. You get general, number, currency, accounting, date and time, percentage, fraction. We'll actually do a video about all of this and go into details of all the different formats and where and how they can be used and configured. But for now, I just wanted you guys to know that the average function can be applied to different types of numbers, if I can say it like that. All right, let's have a look at concatenate. This is one I've used quite a lot as well when trying to prepare data for imports, for example. I found that quite useful when I'm exporting data and I've got SKUs and product codes and prices and quantities and all sorts of funny things. And my data needs to be in a specific format to be imported, and I have to manipulate and edit data. But to demonstrate how concatenate works here, I've just made a very simple example. So if I've got a data set like this, I've got a column that has people's surnames in, and I have another column that has people's names in. But I actually want to have the name displayed, name and surname, like this. One field, one cell, name and surname together. What we can do then is use concatenate. So we'll say equals concatenate. So you can literally type CON and double click on concatenate here. That's easier than trying to spell it sometimes. And then open parentheses. Click on the first cell that you want and then use a semicolon. Then obviously we want a space between them. So we will put open quote, space, close quote, semicolon again. Select the surname, close parentheses, and enter. What I'm going to do in this next cell, I'm just going to show you why I added that space in. So if we equals concatenate, and I just said I want to join that cell and that cell, it'll join it, but without a space. So that was the reason that I added in open quote, space, close quote, in between the two, just to have that space. And then another interesting thing, if I now want to apply this formula to my whole table or to the item below, If you look at the bottom right corner here, you'll see a little square on the cell. And when I hover over it, my cursor turns into a plus sign. I can either click, hold, and drag that down the page like this to apply it to all those cells. Or what I can do is just double click on it and it'll apply it to the length of my data. Unfortunately, I have this column in between here, so it didn't actually work. But if I remove this and I now double click on this little block here, you'll see it applies. So I could literally, let me take it out here, double click, you see it applies it to the length of my data set. All right. So that brings us to the end of this introduction to formulas. I hope that made sense. I hope I explained it nicely, kept it simple, and I hope you guys are clear. If there's any questions, please do ask them in the comments below. I'm happy to get back to you guys. I'm happy to take that into account for future videos or give feedback or clear up anything I wasn't clear enough on. So thank you guys. So thank you guys for joining me in this part 2 of Microsoft Excel Introduction to Formulas. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down and let us know why. Be sure to subscribe. There definitely is going to be more videos to follow in the series. And perhaps hit the bell icon so that as soon as I release the next one, you can be notified and keep yourself up to speed with the series. Guys, thank you so much. Keep it real. Until the next time.